In this video, I'm going to be working with a much larger dungeon, and I'm going to be optimizing it so that the dungeon only loads certain rooms whenever they're necessary, or when the player actually has vision to that room. That way, the game isn't trying to render everything at once, which can bring performance down for a particularly large dungeon that has a lot of lights and stuff like that. So we're loaded into the actual Dwemer dungeon that I'm making, which we're calling Javak, and I went ahead and renamed a bunch of stuff. Let me zoom out here and show you kind of the scale that we're working with. We'll have an initial long hallway, which leads into this O-shaped room here, which leads into another hallway, which leads into a larger hub room with 4 exits that we're going to be using to branch off into different wings of the dungeon. We do not have a east or west wing, but if we keep heading north, we'll come up into another one of these donut-shaped rooms, and then a hall, and then out into a very, very large cave room that leads into a couple of different areas. There is, over here, an elevator that's going to be an optional way to get into the dungeon once you find a key for it. And then you can actually head under the water, go through a little underwater cavern to reach another part of the dungeon that's going to lead into like a deeper area that's infested with Falmer. Now, as far as optimization goes, the first thing we need to do, let me turn on the lights, first of all. We need to go into View, and we need the Show Hide window, and I'm going to click right here, Portals and Rooms. So these blue blocks that just appeared, these are all the different room markers. And essentially what a room marker does is it helps the game to only render certain portions of it at a time. I.e., whenever the player has vision of a portal, and a portal is an area in between room markers, such as this this black box right here that's in between the 2 blue boxes. So if the player has vision of this portal, then both of these rooms will be loaded. Essentially what will happen is, if you have 2 room markers next to each other, but there's no portal between them, as the player approaches that area, he's just going to see an endless void. And once he crosses over the threshold into the next room marker, the room will load, but then the previous room he was just in is going to disappear. So if he looks behind him, he'll see void behind him. So the portal will let the game know that he needs to keep both. The game needs to keep both of these rooms loaded. Now you're probably wondering, what's the deal with the donut-shaped rooms, and what's the deal with hallways in general? And this is just kind of a common thing in video games. You've probably noticed that a lot of architecture in video games sometimes seems really labyrinthian. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and there's a very good reason for that. It's to help the game. It's to help optimize the game so that it's not putting too much stress on the system that's running it. So what I've done to help with like vision and stuff like that is I use these donut-shaped rooms, and the player having to be constrained inside the path of the donut will cut off vision with the various portals that attach to each room. Initially what I could have done was had a hallway here, and then the hallway leads straight into here, and then that would lead straight into the next room. The problem is, if the player goes ahead and opens the doors, he can stand in a particular spot that will actually give him vision from one end of the dungeon to the other, and that could create an enormous stress on the system. So the ways you can get around that are simply by creating hallways that sort of twist and turn and kind of force the player to lose line of sight with larger rooms when it's not really necessary for those larger rooms to be loaded. Here I've decided to go with kind of these donut-shaped hallways. That way the player comes over here and he can have vision with this portal to have the next part loaded, but he won't have vision with this portal until he gets a little bit closer. And then once he's over here, he'll still have vision with this portal, so half of this donut will be loaded, but he won't have vision down here, so the other half of the donut and everything beyond that will not be loaded. Again, the same thing here. We have a very large room here, and we have another really large room over here, but I put a donut in here so that as the player kind of moves through this hallway and goes around a corner, he's going to lose vision with this room, so it will no longer be rendered, and then he'll come up here to get vision with this room, so that way he only has one of the huge rooms rendered at any given time. You might also notice this this really big room I have here. You can't see the room marker for that one, but there is a room marker. It's just so huge that it's not actually rendering very well. But that's alright, it's still there. Another thing about these room markers is you kind of want to restrict their shape to just what's inside that room as much as possible. It's just kind of help keep things clean and make sure you don't accidentally clip off something that might be necessary for another room. For example, I might have pipes that are extending past this room, but if I cut the room marker right at the door here, that might actually cut off one of these pipes. So like the player will be in this room, but this final pipe section right here won't be rendered, which is something that I don't want. So I want to make sure that the pipes do get rendered, so I have to make sure that the pipes are fully encapsulated inside the room marker. But I'm going to go ahead, create a really quick expansion, just to kind of show you how to create a room marker and how to create the portal so we optimize it. I'm just going to take... Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the portal select only mode. I'm going to take this chunk here, I'm going to duplicate it, spin over here, snap to grid. Snap to grid, please. There we go, okay. And then I'm going to bring it back. Let me go ahead and hide the room marker for now. So I go back to view, portals, close that, okay. So we're going to bring this back. Yeah, right about there. Okay, so that would be lined up. And then you'll have the rest of the room. But actually, you know what? Those pipes are lined up with the wall, so I'm going to go ahead and fix the room marker while I'm doing this. So we'll go back to show view, portals and rooms. Boom. Okay, we're going to click on the room marker. And then to help resize the room marker, I can hit the 2 key. And that's going to bring up this little gizmo that allows me to adjust a size of something based on an axis. This doesn't really work with objects in the world because you're not allowed to resize them on a single axis. If you're going to resize an object, it has to resize equally among all axes. But a volume like this, you can manipulate it however you wish. So we have a cool little gizmo that I can just pick one of these arrows and just resize the room only on that half of the axis. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this in towards the door, pretty much right on top of the door. And I'm going to click on the door. And yeah, it looks like the blue line is cutting right across the door, which is exactly what I want. You notice the gizmo here looks slightly different. Again, I'm selecting an object that if I'm going to resize or move it, it has to do everything at once, so the gizmo looks different. I can hit the 2 key to make that disappear. Yeah, but let's go ahead and create a new room marker. So to do that, I can just select an object or anything. And then I believe it's this button right here. Yeah, create a room bound. Just hit yes to that, we're gonna ignore that. Okay, and what it will do is it'll create a room bound surrounding the object that I had selected. Of course, it's crossing over with that. We don't want that, so I'm going to take the room bound and we're going to move it. And you want to make sure that they match up to each other so there's no gap. As long as you have the snap to grid on up here with a Q and control Q, they should line up perfectly. Like I said, if the player like enters a room that doesn't have a portal, or if he enters an area that is between room markers, he's just going to see the void, and we don't want that. There's zoom in here. There's a little bit of crossover right there. I'm going to try to fix that. We want to get it right Is that right? No, there's still a little bit of a gap, just a tiny gap. There we go. Okay, I got it. Alright, so that should be working. I'm going to help myself out. I'm going to select the door. I'm going to hit 1 to hide it. And I'm going to hit 2 to hide that gizmo. Yeah, it looks like the room bounds are now lined up with each other. The next thing is go ahead and make sure that the room bound is encapsulating what I need, and pretty much only what I need. So I select the room bound, hit 2 to bring my gizmo back up. Let me see, there's a little bit of room. I can shrink that down on top. Okay, look on the bottom. Okay, we can bring that up just a little bit. There we go. And, you know, bring that in. Okay, so now I only have the room selected. So with that done, we need to go ahead and create our portal. Because like I said, if we don't have the portal, what's going to happen, the player's going to come over here, he's going to see the end of this void, and when he crosses over, this little piece of the room will appear and everything else will disappear. So we are going to create the portal. What we need to do is, the easiest way is basically this little P button right here. Click on that, and then go ahead and just click on the space between the 2 room bounds where you want to create your portal. I want to make sure I'm zoomed in, just to make sure that I really click on this one space. There we go. Shit. Did I create a portal somewhere else? Yeah, I accidentally created a portal over here. I don't want that. Okay, we'll delete that. Try again. Sometimes that happens. Don't worry about it. We'll just try again. Portal and... Oh, okay. I deselected the room when I deleted that portal, so now I gotta reselect it. There we go. I reselected the room. Okay. Please create the portal. What the shit is happening? Oh, god damn it. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna take this portal and I'm gonna move it. And then we'll rotate it. And then we gotta match it up. Which is gonna suck, but whatever. Yeah, I believe that's the spot. Okay. So now I take this portal and I need to stretch it so that it fits the entire doorway. And I can stretch it just a teeny bit past, just to make sure. Just play it safe, make sure there's no gaps. Oop, okay. So now I got our portal. Unfortunately, it's only connected to one room. You can see that white line right there. This line means that it's being connected. The portal is being connected to this room bound, and the room bound is being connected to this portal, but I need it connected to both rooms. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and deselect that. Now we're gonna, whoops, I selected something way off in the distance. I need to select this room. And now I'm gonna hit Control P into select portal mode only, or select portal only mode. Blech. Also, you can hit this little box up here. This will allow me to click portals through everything else. So I have this room already selected. I'm going to hold down Control and now select this room, or the portal. Okay, now I have the portal and the larger room selected. And with those two selected, I'm going to hit this button right up here, and this is going to create a link between the two. There we go. So now I got a white line going to both of the room bounds, which is what I want. So now the player will be able to see both of these rooms while having a vision of this portal. And that's pretty much it. I really haven't showcased anything I've done for the construction of this dungeon, and the reason is I haven't done anything new necessarily. Everything I've done has just been going through different assets in the editor and just kind of playing around and trying to get inspired and going through Dwemer dungeons in the game, trying to look at stuff that's already in there, and there's a lot of work and time that's been put into this. I've been doing this for, God, several days now. I don't even know how many hours are in this so far, and it's not even... It's still not complete. I've got to make both wings here. I need to finish up the other cave and attach, create another load so that it'll wrap around and go somewhere else, and a bunch of other stuff. This, like I said, I wanted to make a more expansive dungeon. But I'm going to show off a little bit of the work that I've done in-game with a video that's sort of touring the inside of the dungeon as it is right now. So here you go.